The destination of humanity, Sri Aurobindo's The Life Divine, chapter 22, The Problem of Life. Hello, this is Chris speaking. Wake up with a video about Sri Aurobindo's The Life Divine. And in chapter 22 of the first book, there's a very, very interesting quote about the destination, the fate of humanity within the plan of the universe. I tend to reread The Life Divine again and again and again, and I stumbled over this paragraph that I had not noticed that pronounced before. In chapter 21 and 20, he talks about the laws of life. There are certain laws of life of the divine manifesting in the physical gross world, and there are laws. And it's better to follow these laws, as also Daniel Quinn explains very well. And one law is the progress, the evolution of consciousness. He writes at the end of the chapter, unless, therefore, the race, the human race, is to fall by the wayside and leave the victory to other and new creations of the eager, travailing mother, it must aspire to this ascent, conducted indeed through love, mental illumination, and the vital urge to possession and self-giving, but leading beyond to the supramental unity which transcends and fulfills them. In the founding of human life upon the supramental realization of conscious unity, and with the one and with all in our being, and in all its members, humanity must seek its final good and salvation. So there's a direction and there's a salvation. We human beings, we always look for salvation, but we think it's a personal salvation. It's not a personal. The whole race, the whole humanity, the whole species, everyone, all 8 point something billion of us, we have the same destination, the same fate, the same aspiration. And either we fulfill it or we won't. If we won't, we will get replaced by another species. He writes, the whole crux and difficulty of human life lies here, in his fragmentation. Man is this mental being, this mental consciousness working as mental force, aware in a way of the universal force and life of which he is part of, because he has not knowledge of its universality or even of the totality of his own being, unable to deal either with life in general or with his own life in a really effective and victorious movement of mastery. He seeks to know matter in order to be master of the material environment, to know life in order to be master of the vital existence, to know mind in order to be master of the great obscure movement of mentality in which he is not only a jet of light of self-consciousness like the animal, but also more and more of a flame of growing knowledge. So we seek mastery, we seek self-knowledge and the knowledge of matter and life and mind, but somehow we don't get the full picture. That's our main problem. We don't see the large scale picture. We are a little bit more conscious than animals, but we kind of misinterpret this because we don't see that we have a destiny as humanity as a whole. And this urge to know yourself, to understand what the world is, what consciousness is, what matter is, what life is, what mind is part of this force of creation. We have to understand this because it's our inbuilt destiny and aspiration to know this. And now the paragraph I mentioned earlier, where he expresses himself very, very clearly. Either man must fulfill himself by satisfying the divine within him, or he must produce out of himself a new and greater being who will be more capable of satisfying it. He must either become a divine humanity or give place to Superman. with Superman, of course, he doesn't speak about the Marvel figure. This text is much older than Marvel. So to us it sounds strange, Superman, yeah? But back then what he meant is a human being which has fulfilled its destiny. That is Superman, superhumanity. And either we as a human species right now will transform into this superhumanity, fulfilling the destiny of becoming more and more conscious and awake and enlightened and aware of what consciousness and life and force and matter and the universe and the divine and the absolute and the infinite is, or we will be replaced. Either we will cause this replacement ourselves by creating a being or species that will replace us, like artificial intelligence or, I don't know, some sort of genetic experiment, or nature will replace us. If we can't evolve, or if we will not cause an evolution of another species to fill this place in the divine plan, to have a fully conscious race, a fully conscious species, a fully conscious collective of beings, then nature will find another way, and we will not be important anymore. Right now, actually Sri Aurobindo and Meher Baba, they agree with religion and science that the human species is a special race. We are physically, we're animals, but mentally and energetically we're more than that. That does not mean, this is the difference, in religion and science they think that this means that humanity is the master race, is the master of the planet, that we are meant to govern this earth. This is not the case. The difference is that our destiny is different from that of the animals. Our destiny is a conscious species. That's it. It's not our destiny to master anything. It's not our destiny to be little gods, megalomaniacs. It's our destiny to be aware of what actually is, to add to the divine awareness by our individual and collective awareness. This collective aspect is the main thing here. It's not about you as an individual, it's about you as part of the human collective. We know this from Buddhism, the original Buddhism. We're all sitting in one boat, and the journey, your personal journey of enlightenment is only over once every single human being is enlightened. And the more conscious you are as an individual, the more you will help automatically. You don't have to do anything. We always have this urge to help people and to pull them up. It's not possible and it's not necessary. Only because you are conscious, you will help less conscious people towards more consciousness. Only by being there, only by being more conscious already than the average. So jokingly, I spoke with a friend recently about that, and we said, actually, if you're awake or in the love phase or enlightened or beyond enlightened, any kind of higher consciousness, you should get a salary for that, because it's hard work. It's hard work to be conscious in a world of people who are asleep. And it's your job as a conscious person to balance out the unconsciousness of those who are asleep. David Hawkins even calculated this. For example, one enlightened being, a la Eckhart Tolle, is counterbalancing 10 million individuals who are asleep. And one enlightened being, a la Meher Baba or UG or Sri Aurobindo is counterbalancing 70 million asleep individuals. And even if you're only awake, what I call awake, like aware of what actually is going on, you are counterbalancing 400,000 individuals who are asleep. So this pull that you always feel, this pull downwards, this pull backwards, is actually the work that you're doing, if you want it or not. That's your fate as a more or less conscious human being. And this work will never stop until all human beings are conscious, because that is our fate as a species. And unfortunately, he doesn't, or maybe fortunately, he doesn't describe when we will get replaced if we don't manage to. Because of course there is no linear time. There's no linear one-way time. So there can be no human time limit. Like we have 100 years left and that's it. Now it's either we manage it or we don't manage it. So far it's still going upwards, but very slowly. There were certain jumps in the 50s and 70s, and now recently, about 10 years ago, and now this current crisis where it's still not clear in which direction it goes, upwards or downwards. Because fear, shame, guilt, grief and apathy are the lowest vibrations, so to say, the lowest energies, the lowest emotions, and those were very, very present the last year or so. On the other hand, probably more people than ever woke up, and those who were already awake, a lot of them progressed towards enlightenment, and now we have at least one person again who is on a similar level than Sri Aurobindo. Not quite yet, but very close. But he's very old already, so I'm not sure where this will go. So anyway, we have to fulfill our destiny if we want it or not. There's a divine plan even if we don't see it, and this divine plan is evolution of consciousness, and we are at the forefront. And if we want to stay at the forefront, we better hurry up before we get replaced. That is the problem of life. Not our petty individual worries, but our collective destiny. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me on Facebook or Patreon. Thank you for hitting the bell button and sharing the videos with your friends, and see you soon.